Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everyone. Great to have you in our SAP Community YouTube stream. I would like to welcome you to the next episode of the deep dives into end-to-end processes with SAP webcast series. This webcast series, entitled End-to-End Processes Deep Dives, was launched in May, and I will post the link to the entire schedule in the chat shortly. Our topic for today is on the business process travel to reimburse. We will talk about how to take control of your business travel spending. My name is Larissa Brinkmann from the SAP Global User Groups organization, and I'm your host. Before handing over to our speakers, let me share a few housekeeping rules. We kindly ask you to post your questions via live chat, and we will answer them at the end of the presentation. The additional materials of this session, like the PDF, will be available under the same link in the description to the video of today's session shortly after the stream is finished. Now we move into the actual topic of our call, and our experts for today are Jacob Troy, who is Senior Director of Product Management at SAP Concur, Sunita Sudarshan, Director of Product Management Intelligent Enterprise at SAP, and Andreas Schäfer, who is Product Manager for SAP Integration with SAP Concur Solutions. With this, I wish you great interaction and kindly ask Jake to take over.
Thank you, Larissa. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. My name is Jake Troy. I'm based in Boston. I've been with SAP for 6 years. I lead the Spend Business Processes team at SAP Concur, which includes a number of the enabling capabilities for our spend products, things like document compliance, receipt management, financial integrations, and more. I'm joined by my colleague, Sunita Sudarshan, Director of Product Management for the Intelligent Enterprise. She is an SAP veteran who's been with SAP for over 18 years, based in London, and Andreas Schäfer, another SAP veteran who leads our ICS capabilities out of Waldorf, Germany. Thank you, Sunita and Andreas, for joining as well. So today we're going to be talking about the travel to reimburse scenario, otherwise known as T2R. The end-to-end process for booking travel and managing employee spend. Our agenda today is really two parts. The first objective, I should say, is to show the power and the breadth of the travel to reimburse scenario. And then secondly, to demystify the challenges of standing up, configuring, and integrating this suite of SAP products. And we're going to provide an overview of the Intelligent Enterprise strategy at SAP. We'll walk through the end-to-end processes that are defined for T2R and show why it's important to you. We'll discuss different variants of the T2R scenario, and then we'll take a look under the hood with a live demo of just one piece of our integration and show how streamlined and easy it is to set up and configure out of the box. And then lastly, we'll have some time for Q&A at the end. And if you have any questions as we are going through, please drop them into the chat, and Larissa will help us moderate and answer those questions once we're done with the demo. Thank you. So let's start out with end-to-end process transformations. And before we jump in, why is there a need for end-to-end process transformation? And to set the stage, one of the quotes that we have in our Intelligent Enterprise document is that more than 80% of the Fortune 500 companies over the last 60 years have either disappeared, merged, or contracted. And really a big part of that is digital transformation, and much of that we've been experiencing over the past 20 years, including things like cloud computing, mobile first, big data, advanced analytics, always on connectivity, and for sure, a lot of the emerging artificial intelligence and machine learning capabilities. And SAP believes that rapid digital transformation will only accelerate, and that these are a catalyst for change for all of our businesses. And quite simply, to meet those needs and to continue to evolve, we need to be agile and innovative. So here's a quote from our intelligent enterprise. Really, the strategy for the intelligent enterprise is to link departments, integrate business processes, connect data, and embed intelligence to unleash that innovation and growth. And SAP's strategy is really to build a single consistent experience across SAP, partner, and third-party solutions to help future-proof your business. So at the end of the day, as customers expecting to run your business in these times of innovation and disruption, you can expect this intelligent enterprise vision to really help you in your journey. And that's what leads us to the topic we're covering today, which is travel to reimburse. T2R itself is actually part of a larger umbrella scenario called recruit to retire. And I'm showing this at a high level. This is the journey of managing your employees and contingent workers throughout the entire life cycle of their career, from recruitment to onboarding, managing their work, travel, spend, reimbursement, and eventual retirement. And our colleagues have already presented on two of these topics. You can see here, hire to retire and external workforce are two other key components of the recruit to retire scenario. And we've shared, for those of you who have not seen those community calls yet, we've shared the link to those resources. They're up on the SAP Community YouTube channel, and we've got the links in this document. And then for T2R, the context of T2R weaves in the overall scenario for planning, staffing, traveling, and paying both employees, reimbursing employees, and paying vendors. And you can see the power of integrating this complete set of processes across products. And it's not necessarily so much about having all of these products, SuccessFactors, S/4HANA, Concur, Fieldglass, and so on. But it's really about, once they're integrated, what you can do with them. And so we're going to zoom into this view for travel to reimburse and its variants. And one key view for our intelligence suite, this really is the foundation of digital transformation at SAP. This is a bit of an eye chart, but we'll give you the slides and you can kind of zoom in a little bit. There are really three major components here. The first are the end-to-end processes. So there's recruit to retire, which we just talked about, source to pay, design to operate, and lead to cash. And then we have enabling suite qualities along the bottom here. Examples include rolling out a common design standard or a seamless user experience with our Fiori design standard across all products. We have identity management, so the ability to manage a single profile for customers or for employees across all of your SAP products. Single inbox in Task Center, so that employees have an opportunity to manage all of their workflow in a single location and consistently across products. Aligned domain models and the ability to interchange data and resources across products. We also have the process blueprints over here, which we have a link to those process blueprints. So you'll be able to see all of the detail for T2R, and those blueprints are kind of maps of the entire scenario in depth, and then cross-product analytics and so on. And the third component of the intelligence suite is the business technology platform. And this is really the platform for extending and innovating on the SAP platform, on the SAP products. It's used by SAP, customers, partners, and more to provide a complete ecosystem for innovation. All right, and you can see that the intelligence suite is really the foundation of the digital transformation that we've been talking about. You don't have to have, you can only have, you could have one SAP product, or you can have multiple. Our objective is really to integrate across all products and make that integration much more seamless, intelligent, and purposeful, so that as your business grows through your own digital transformations, you can leverage more and more of the intelligence suite. That's really the idea. All right, now we'll jump into travel to reimburse. And this is an overview of the travel to reimburse end-to-end process. And really the goal is to enhance and simplify end-to-end business process management for travel booking and employee-initiated spend. Through the integration of these products, you see SuccessFactors, S/4HANA, Concur, identity management, and even partner and third-party solutions. So you can really see the breadth of products that are involved. Capabilities that provide HR and human capital management, payroll, talent management. With Fieldglass, you've got workforce and vendor management. Concur, you've got travel, expense, spend, and more. And S/4HANA, the backend enterprise resource planning capability. So our goal is to enable those capabilities to work seamlessly together. And along the top here, you can also see the breadth of use cases. Prepare when you're managing or onboarding new employees for your entire workforce in SuccessFactors, or you're managing cost objects and preparing budgets in S/4HANA for how to anticipate spend that could be incurred. Requesting and booking travel and spend, or actually booking through travel, through Concur or one of our many travel partners. As you're traveling, managing all of your receipts and expenses, expense management, enforcing policies across systems, integrating with the backend ERP system, including S/4HANA, so that there's a single source of record for tax, compliance documents, and financial postings, and ultimately getting your employees and vendors, employees reimbursed and your vendors paid. So this complete end-to-end process really leads to a consistent employee experience and enables the promise of the intelligence suite that we just talked about. I'll now turn it over to Sunita, who's going to walk through the travel to reimburse solution in depth and show us the benefits and variants of T2R.
Thanks a lot, Jake. Yeah, okay, so let's look at, what does this mean for the customer? For any company, right, travel and expenses make up to an average of 10% of the company's total business budget. So it's crucial to have a complete and accurate information for the organizations to take advantage of smart spending strategies, savings, and tax decisions. Like Jake mentioned, SAP Travel to Reimbursement process provides an integrated and consistent end-to-end travel and expense experience. It provides end-to-end visibility of data from business budget planning to reimbursement. This near real-time analytics helps in general in gaining insights, which in turn helps to optimize and scale the travel spend. For finance teams, using automated checks, it leads to accurate and faster reimbursement as well as staying compliant by using the various travel and expenses policies. So in terms of providing a consistent and modern user experience, I think a travel to reimbursement process does that across all our products in the T2R process, and it also helps increase employee productivity. We'll see in a while now, when we fully integrate all of the required SAP products, the user experience is so much better. For example, later when Andreas demos the enhanced WBS element search, for example, if you're a consultant with a large consulting firm and if there are hundreds of thousands of cost centers on which you have to filter, so instead of looking at so many while claiming your expense, you can see the ones that you are really staffed 2 in SAP Concur. Although the data and logic is in SAP S/4HANA to filter it out, you still see the filtered list in SAP Concur. I think this in general provides a much better user experience. In terms of numbers, we have 2K plus customers who are productively using SAP S/4HANA and Concur integration. And they're benefiting from the T2R process with over 4 million expense reports created and reimbursed every month overall. Jake, if you go to the next slide. Thanks. So this is our end-to-end T2R process flow along with all the solutions, SAP solutions that are being used. You can already see the depth and breadth and how SAP is trying to provide a seamless integration. These are the end-to-end steps that are involved in the process. In general, there are goals that various personas are trying to achieve at each stage of this end-to-end process. For example, the HR manager wants to onboard employees, finance manager or controller is keen on the travel budget, savings, etc. And employees would like to submit their expense report and want to get reimbursed as fast as they can. And all of these goals should be met through the use of the various products that you see. And at SAP, our task is to make this integration as seamless as possible for our customers. Let me now, go through and highlight some of them. So as you can see, Jake, you could just go back. I'll just walk through the process steps itself, starting from preparation for the process. So in general, onboarding, I think customers need to onboard employees to the SAP system, SuccessFactors, SAP Concur as well, because if they need to be onboarded also on SAP Concur because they need to do the travel request, travel bookings, as well as submit expense report. And they also need access to the system, and we also have, we also need access to other personas such as auditors, etc. And also you can see budget planning. I mean, every company has a certain budget that's allowed or allocated for travel. And that's what we do in SAP S/4HANA. I think Jake will also talk about our funds and grants integration that, mainly for the public sector customers, how the budget planning and verifying budget for a travel request is very useful. And when we move on to the request and booking itself, customers use travel request before they travel. They send the travel request and mention what kind of travel plans they have, what is the planned amount. In case we have an approval in place, this request will be approved based on the allocated budget. Our goal is that the approver has the data needed for the approval and always has visibility about the budget in real time, especially the budget for respective cost centers, projects, etc. The employee can then start booking his travel. In Concur, at least the goal is to have right suppliers based on best cost, based on what our customers need, and that we have a huge choice of travel possibilities. Next on is travel, where the employee organizes their travel, they do their business travel, they have to do all the booking of the flight, hotel, taxi, etc. And they would prefer to have everything in one place. The travel and later on, the traveler is basically supported through the process for and during their business trip. The next thing that I want to talk about is the duty of care. It's basically used for supporting our customers and their employees in case of emergency, to assist the employees when they are on travel. For example, if there are calamities like earthquakes, thunderstorms, etc., companies can easily connect with their employees and check if they are safe. Also, I think we can use this as a preventive tool before the employee travels itself. Moving on to the expense part, the employee comes back after his business trip, probably during the travel or after the trip. In general, the interest of the employees to get reimbursed as soon as possible. Employees, they can capture their receipts easily via mobile, e-receipts, or via web application. I mean, in general, right, the goal is to capture these receipts as easy as possible without much effort. And we also have an automated process already in place. Once the receipts are captured, the employee submits the expense report. We also have the VAT and deductibility service for verifying everything around VAT and reclamation in general. Every company also has, travel and expense policies. We allow various managers to monitor it to see if there are any errors, anomalies, or ensure and to ensure that in general everything is fine. Moving on to the reimbursement process, employees are reimbursed. We have three variants: SuccessFactors, Concur, and SAP S/4HANA, through which they could be reimbursed. And payments are also made to the corporate card companies as well as the chosen travel suppliers or other suppliers involved. Jake, if you can move on to the next slide. Thank you. So like Jake mentioned about the various variants we have handpicked only a few of these. Let me talk about, if you saw on the previous slide about the travel request and its importance for, funds and grants for public sector employees. In Concur, employees can create travel request and wait for approval to go ahead so that they can plan their trip. After the travel request is approved, it will be sent to the financial integration service. As you can see it, SAP S/4HANA can then retrieve the travel requests and post these accordingly. A commitment will be created to reserve the budget, as we saw in the previous slide, and a posting notification is sent back to SAP Concur. SAP Concur will receive the notification and update the status. The employee can then go ahead, book their travel, such as hotel, flights, etc. The next slide, basically, we saw the travel request. If you look at it, this is, the reimbursement process and employee getting paid. In SAP Concur, if you can follow the process steps, in SAP Concur, employees create, maintain, and they also submit their expense reports, as I mentioned earlier. The expense report requires approval and is then submitted to the financial integration service. In SAP S/4HANA, the submitted expense reports are retrieved and they are posted. A journal entry is created and a posting notification is sent back to Concur. Once Concur receives the posting notification, the expense report is updated accordingly with the status that has been provided by S/4HANA. The travel to reimburse scenario, as I mentioned earlier, has three different ways of reimbursing the employee: through Concur Pay, through SAP S/4HANA financial system, or through SuccessFactors Employee Central Payroll. In this case, you can see that the payment is being done via SAP S/4HANA financial system during the monthly payment run, and the employees reimbursed. Andreas, my colleague, he'll show a demo for the first few steps on this slide. I just want to highlight, an important development regarding Delta posting. Earlier, employees were not able to reopen the already submitted expense report, but with the Delta posting, an employee can reopen an already submitted expense report. They can add new entries to the reopened report. They can modify an existing header field itemization or allocation, etc. Or they can even add a new receipt image to the item that already contained or may not have contained any image, and then resubmit. That's the line that you see going back in the process step. So after this variant, the next one, as I mentioned, Jake, if you go to yeah. So first few steps are quite similar, where a journal entry is created in SAP S/4HANA and a posting notification is sent back. But because this variant talks about the SuccessFactors Employee Central Payroll, once Concur receives the posting notification, it updates the status of the expense report. A payroll document is created. SuccessFactors retrieves the various payroll documents. It updates the payroll information in the system and sends the confirmation back to Concur. Similar to what we saw previously, during the monthly payroll run that happens in SuccessFactors, payment is made to the employee. That's the difference between the previous one and this variant. The next one, I'll keep it very brief. Master data integration. Earlier, we had point-to-point integration to replicate workforce person cost centers. In this diagram, we can see that we have the SAP master data integration in between SAP S/4HANA Cloud and SuccessFactors, and the employees that are onboarded on SuccessFactors are replicated via the MDI to SAP S/4HANA Cloud, and we create business partners. In future, similarly, the team has already worked on it. They're working on it. We will also have the early adopter program for the same workforce person to be replicated from MDI to SAP Concur and avoid the point-to-point replication from SuccessFactors to Concur. Similarly, cost centers are replicated from S/4HANA Cloud to SuccessFactors. In future, we will also try and have Concur consume cost centers via MDI as opposed to the point-to-point integration. Jake, if we could go to the next slide. I think briefly I touched upon the WBS element search. I was discussing this with Jake, and he was saying that, in the past, how when he was a consultant with a consulting firm, some years ago, and he had to book 2,000 hours a year and of the work that he's done, and he needs to manage all the expenses across all his projects. It's not easy, isn't it? That's a huge amount of or hours that he needs to book. With this enhanced WBS element search in Concur, you can see all the projects that a consultant or the traveler is staffed to, as opposed to seeing all the tens of thousands of WBS elements. So there is basically no need to scroll and search from this large list. This particular WBS element search, it supports both enterprise and professional services. With the 2302 release, we have this now delivered to the customers. That's pretty much what I wanted to cover. Thank you so much, Jake. We have the demo now, which my colleague Andreas will be walking us through. Thank you.
Okay, so now you've heard a little bit about the vision of T2R, the different pieces that are involved for T2R. Now let's have a look at the core piece of T2R, and that's, from my point of view, the integration between the expense report and the FI system. So I'm logged in here into Concur. I'm logged in as a traveler. I have already prepared an expense report, but I wasn't able to submit that expense report yet because I was missing one important piece of information, and that was
Andreas, we can't hear you
WBS
properly.
element,
Andreas?
which should be used for recording my travel expenses. So now I go into that. Okay, yeah, I'm also getting there the information. My internet connection wouldn't be stable. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now, but before it was a lot of disturbance and you were.
Okay.
So just go ahead.
Yeah, I hope it will work out. So here I'm in the expense report. As I said, I'm missing the WBS element for this expense report. That's the only thing I'm missing before I can submit the expense report. So I just go to the header level of the expense report. I press this button to open up my search for the WBS element. Now I'm taken into the FI system where the expense report will be posted later on, and authentication should take place. Okay. For the search, already some data is being defaulted, like the company code of my expense report, my personal number. So all I need to do is to press the Go button to search for all the WBS elements where I have an explicit staffing. I could also decide to search through all of the WBS elements which are available in the system and where I have access to. But at the moment, I'm only interested in those WBS elements where I have an explicit staffing. That's just 3 different WBS elements. And I will pick this one, as this one is the one I need to select to record my costs for the given business trip. So I press here the select button. The WBS element is taken over into the expense report. I can close my window for the FI system. Now the WBS element is visible here in the expense report. I can save the expense report and submit this report. Okay. Now, what's happening behind the scenes? So behind the scenes, that expense report would be picked up automatically by the FI system, would be imported into the FI system and posted. I will do that step now manually, as I don't want to wait for the batch job to pick up that expense report. So here it is. I have now the expense report in the FI system. It's not yet posted. So let's do the posting for that expense report. And a few seconds later, an FI document should be created for the expense report. So here we see status is successful for the posting. I can also go from here to the actual FI document. So here I have my land. I see here, okay, 2 expenses are recorded in the FI document. The hotel expense for $400, the taxi expense for $200, and that's the posting of my expense report in the FI system. So now let's have a look at what that means from a setup perspective, how easy, respectively complicated this might be to be set up in the FI system. And actually, from my point of view, it's one of the easiest integration to be set up in the SAP environment. So you can set up this integration in half an hour to an hour, depending on how much knowledge you have.
Andreas, we can't hear you.
Okay, yeah, I lost the connection.
Yeah, it seems to be very unstable.
Worked most of the day, but unfortunately not now. Okay, so here we go again. I'm here in the system. I want to set up my integration to Concur. I pick this app, Concur Integration Setup, and the system is reacting now. Maybe I should sign out and sign in again into the system. Okay.
Are you
So,
trying to reset your system because it's not clear what's going on now?
I hope you can see now the system again. I have free transaction in that setup app for the Concur integration. If I go here to that button system, I can create an own connection to a Concur entity. I could also change an existing connection. And what I wanted to mention here is that we have two options to set up a connection between Concur and the FI system. One is a direct connection. One is a connection that is also using a middleware in between. So all you have to give us on this piece of the wizard the information, what type of connection you want to use and which targets, what is your middleware environment, all that stuff. Then on the second screen, we will ask you to give us some logon credentials for the Concur entity. And then press complete on the last step of this wizard. And you will have hopefully a successful connection with your Concur entity. Then we also need WBS elements or other types of cost objects in Concur. So we also support the replication of these objects into Concur. So we have here the export of the WBS elements. That's also set up fairly easily. What we need to know from you as users of the Concur system is in which list you want to have your cost objects stored. What levels should that list include? So normally we recommend to have a 4-level connected list in Concur. So we are able to distinguish between data that is coming from different FI systems. We are able to identify the company code and the type of cost object that is being used for postings. And then we have a little bit of an additional setup for WBS features there, like exporting confidential WBS projects without a description to decide whether we want to use the WBS element search, which I've shown before, things like that. For all of the different cost object types, you would decide what type or which object should actually be replicated to Concur, whether you want to replicate all of the WBS elements which are available in the system, or as in this example, we are just replicating WBS elements from two different company codes, company code 1010 and 1710 to Concur. And in the last step, it's a decision whether you want to manually export the WBS elements to Concur, meaning you run a report every now and then to update Concur with the WBS elements, or whether a batch job should be set up. And if you want to set up a batch job, just tell us in which frequency you want to send the updates over to Concur. That's it. Press complete on the wizard, and your WBS element replication should be set up, and you can start replicating data to Concur. And then let's come to the most complicated piece normally, converting the expense report data into an FI posting. But actually, if you use this type of integration, it's also not that complicated. Again, we are using a wizard to get some information how the posting should look like, to get some more information where to find data inside of Concur, because not all of the data which we need for DFI has really a dedicated field on the Concur side. So it's configurable within Concur where to store the data. So in the first step, we just want to use know from you whether
Andreas,
you
we
are
can't really hear
credit
you
cards.
again.
That is a special credit card scenario which needs. Okay, is it getting better now?
Yeah, a bit better.
Okay. Then the other thing is the question whether you want to accept test user postings from Concur in your FI system. Test users are a special concept of Concur where you can have special users marked as test users in Concur in your productive environment. And these users are allowed to create expected Concur environment. And for the FI system here, the question is whether these postings should really make it into the FI system, into the productive FI system, not. Then since we have different reimbursement scenarios, we can reimburse the employees through vendors in the FI system. We could also reimburse the employees through payroll or through expense pay. If we decide to reimburse the employees through the FI vendors, then we want to know how to identify the vendor account of an employee. We need to give Concur the information which expense reports are relevant for this FI system where we are setting up the connection. We need to know what should be the document type, the FI document type for the posting, what should be used as the posting date of the FI document. Should it be something more related to the expense report itself, like the start date or the end date of the expense report? And then for different additional scenarios, we also allow you to give us here some more settings, like deciding whether you want to use the reference key fields for credit card clearing, things like that. As I said before, not all of the data that is being used for the FI posting has a dedicated field within Concur. So one of these data sets is the cost assignment. So we don't know where to find the cost objects. That's where we need the help of the one who is setting up the connection. That person needs to tell us where on the allocation level of an expense report we will find things like logical system, company code, cost object type, or the cost object ID. And then in the end, it's again a decision whether you want to import data manually or whether a batch job should automatically import the data from Concur. And that's all you need to do to get a successful integration set up for Concur. So once you have done these steps, you should be ready to post your expense reports in DFI systems. And that's it from my side. I hope my connection didn't break too often, and I could bring over what I wanted to demo. Apologies for the connection. It worked the whole day, but as usual, not when you need it most.
Hi, Andreas, quick question for you. So in the expense report, could you actually bring up the launch external URL for the WBS element search? Because it wasn't, I think it was going into a different browser window and we were not able to see that. Is there just an easy way to show that to everyone?
Okay. Yeah, maybe I just have to switch off or switch the screen sharing to a different browser window. Give me a second. It's now loading the expense report to trigger the URL. Maybe let's go with an expense report. Okay. So I press here the open button. I should have filled out first all the mandatory fields. I press now the open button and then I will switch the screen share. And this one should be the screen for.
We can see something on the screen, what you're showing,
Yes.
or
Yeah.
would you?
So this is then the WBS element search. This is the screen from the FI system that allows you to search for all the WBS elements. It's pre-configured to default the company code and my personal name number. It's configured to search just for WBS elements where I have an explicit staffing. So if I press the go button, then the list of WBS elements where I have an assignment is shown. I can pick the WBS element from that list, confirm my selection, and then this WBS element is taken over to the Concur expense report.
Excellent, thank you. And if you turn off the default, it would show the list of thousands potentially of cost objects. So it's really nice way to kind of constrain that and help the user as they're filling out their expense report. Andreas, thank you for the demo. I hope that gave everyone a glimpse into the T2R scenario and our ability to integrate across products. And what you saw was really just one piece of the integration, specifically with Concur and S/4HANA. And our goal for T2R is to integrate that complete suite of products. And so as we continue to roll out these various integration capabilities and new features that take advantage of the integration, you'll really see more and more the power of the T2R scenario. I'm going to share my slides. If everyone's able to see that. Okay. Well, before we wrap up, I wanted to share a few highlights from our roadmap of the SAP Intelligent Enterprise and the T2R scenario specifically. Sunita actually had mentioned the Delta posting, which has been out for a little while now, but we now have, I believe in fourth quarter alone, we had about 8,000 Delta postings. So those are expenses that were created in Concur, made it into the S/4HANA system, but needed to be revised after the fact. And if you think about it, with 8,000 expenses that need to be revised, that's really 8,000 individuals that did not have to go into both systems and manually adjust those records. So really a great feature. More recent features and capabilities. Right at the top here, we've got Fiori, and an effort that we are doing to harmonize the user experience across all SAP products. Many of you who are already using SAP products will recognize additional Fiori themes that have been rolled out. And really what we're aiming for there is a single, modern, and consistent design and user experience. So that's really great. Master data interchange for workforce to enable the exchange of workforce data across all the aforementioned products. Reconciliation of report number across Concur and S4, really facilitating the exchange of expense data across these products. Enhanced WBS element search, which Andreas just showed us. And another big one that's kind of coming in the future product direction is funds and grants integration. And Sunita mentioned this earlier, but if we have anyone on the call that is in public sector or higher education, and you're managing funds and grants, you know how critical it is to manage those funds. In many cases, things like grants can be use it or lose it. So if you've got a $5 million grant this year and you don't use the complete set of funds, say you only use 4 million of that, you go next year to get a renewal, the grantor is going to say, hey, look, you didn't use all of your funds last year. Why are we going to renew, or why are we going to increase the funds? So really being able to anticipate and manage funds and grant spending, it's really critical. The funds and grants integration that we're doing is going to enable the ability to track anticipated spend within Concur and then reserve budgets in S/4HANA, and then true up that information, true up that budget when expenses are actually incurred and those postings make it into the S4 ERP system. So this is funds and grants integration, the WBS element search. Many of these capabilities are really examples of the intelligent enterprise vision that we're working to achieve with Travel to Reimburse. And for funds and grants, we're going to be rolling out APIs and integration capabilities later this year and early next. And then another one that Sunita had mentioned is the master data integration for workforce. So for those of you who are using SuccessFactors for HR and for your human capital management, there will be that tight integration in between of profile, identity, and information into the Concur system and back and forth as well. We are including in the resources section and here a link to the SAP Roadmap Explorer. And the good news is when you go into the Roadmap Explorer, you can really view all the capabilities that we're rolling out on a product by product basis, but also on a scenario basis. So you can see all of the capabilities that are being rolled out for recruit to retire, and in this case, Travel to Reimburse. So that's a great way to kind of stay on top of what's happening with Travel to Reimburse. And then additionally, sorry, I'm going to jump here. Additionally, we have a number of resources that you can view. We have architectural views or blueprints, we call them, for the Travel to Reimburse scenarios. So you can see all the different variants and all the capabilities that we're we're integrating and how they integrate. On our help portal, we have integration guides, one that highlights many of the integration wizards that Andreas just showed you. Roadmap Explorer, which again is broken out by travel to reimburse and by product, which is really nice. We have our other community call recordings for the other hire to retire or recruit to retire capabilities, including hire to retire and external workforce. And finally, to wrap up, I want to thank you all for joining our session today. We hope that you've had a chance to learn more about the travel to reimburse scenario, really the complete end-to-end process for booking travel and managing employee-initiated spend. And when you think about it, the goal really is about, or at the end of the day, it's really about the whole being greater than the sum of its parts. When we have the seamless integration of these products across Concur, S/4HANA, SuccessFactors, Fieldglass, and more, and we're able to unlock capabilities, innovative features, and deliver consistent architecture and user experience, as well as intelligence across those products. And that's how we're achieving the goal of the intelligent enterprise. So we hope that gave you a glimpse of T2R and what we're accomplishing with the Intelligence Suite. And now I'd like to turn it over to Larissa to help moderate any questions that have come up in the chat.
Right. First of all, thank you very much for these insights into travel to reimburse for all the details that you brought up, and also for the demo. However, I apologize for technical disturbance during the demo presentation. But I really hope that the essence of the demo was still transmitted well. Currently, I can see in the chat positive feedback, explicitly positive feedback to Sunita, as the way she was explaining the concept was very nicely paced, and so the feedback of the audience mentioned that. I can see more questions in the chat. We are almost at the end of of our session, and I can only encourage our audience to bring up the questions. And as we allow one more minute for the audience to think of the question, I might ask you what is really asked very often. And this question is, what partners do you integrate with?
Oh, sure. Sunita, you could start.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Jake. I think in general, all the travel management companies for the various business trips, we saw it in one of the end-to-end process diagrams that I was showing. And the financial services partners for, tax, card payments, etc., or other payment programs, travel suppliers, of course, so that, customers can have a lot of options. SAP Concur in general also integrates with many other SAP partners. I think this should be there in the FAQ section for Concur. I mean, Jake, do you want to add something?
Yeah, there really is a breadth of partners that we're working with, like you said, travel management partners, and more financial integration partners. Two quick things. I think you can look at the App Center within Concur, and you can see the range of partners that we have integrated into our Concur capabilities. And then additionally, the Intelligence Suite really, and our business technology platform really is being designed to enable partners to integrate and extend the underlying SAP and Concur platforms. So there's really quite a lot going on there. And maybe what we can do is within the chat, we can find a link to some of those to the list of partners. I think that would be helpful in the App Center page.
Yes, excellent suggestion. I would even suggest to add it to the presentation, maybe as an, if it's possible. If not, I can upload the PDF of today's session shortly, and you will then share the document with the partners as soon as it's available. We can do it like this. All right, we are at the end of the time. I would like to thank you, our speakers. I would like to thank you, Jake, Sunita, and Andres, for their presentation and for the demo. And of course, I would like to thank you, our audience, for being with us today. As I've already indicated, the PDF of this session will be available for download in the description to the video that will stay on YouTube for your consumption. With this, I would like to finish this session. Again, thank you very much. Have a nice day, and hope to have you in one of our upcoming streams.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you and bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.